Hi. So, welcome back. Episode 16. It's a kind of a bonus episode. We just passed the 1 year mark of the podcast, so I wanted to celebrate with a little bit of a bonus episode. And pulling from the archives is a little stand-up tragedy set I did while I was still in the organization. And it pertains to a particular trip I took to Boston, third trip, which was around the performance of Mozart's Requiem. And here's the background. 2013 was 50 years after JFK's death. We did a memorial concert. I'll put the link in the description. We did that in Virginia, and it went decent. And then we had this much larger lift production up in Boston to commemorate the 50th anniversary when they gave the memorial service in Boston, right? So it was I think, in January. So it was a bad experience for me, and it also was illustrative of certain larger issues I felt the organization was going through, problems that they had. And in light of, you may have seen previous episode of me, my diatribe, 3 hours, 20 minutes. Don't blame me if you didn't, but check it out if you like. But in that episode, I talk about how, especially in the later years, I was trying to reform the organization. So this background episode is part of that aspect of the story. So if you're not, if you weren't in the organization, some of the jokes might be like more inside jokes, but I think it's a funny enough story. It's a funny enough like situational comedy that you might enjoy it. Um, so yeah, let me know if you do. I will say I've kind of said it every show, especially recently, but yeah, reflecting on a year of this show, it's been a great experience for me reconnecting with everybody. It's all like super positive feedback of thank you so much for doing this. You know, when this guest on your show said this, it really resonated with me. I didn't know anyone else felt that. So a lot of it's just like the reconnecting and connecting in so many different ways. I mentioned we had the reunion last month, and more things like that are planned. I got more episodes planned. It's just like timing piece of when people come on the show. Happy to have you. Happy to reconnect. If you want to reconnect with someone, reach out to me. My email's on all the shows. But anyway, happy 1 year anniversary. I hope you enjoy this bonus episode. Stand-up tragedy. Originally, it was called the Train-Requiem. I removed all the names, of course, as that's what I want to do. So enjoy.
But all right, we're going to begin now. We're going to begin. This is the story of my trip to Boston, my trip to film the Requiem project, some of the developments leading up into it, some of what happened afterwards. And I'm calling it a tragic comedy because hopefully you'll see why. So it started with the November project. How many of you guys were at the November concert? Okay, a few people. The Virginia concert, the Requiem. Um, it was funny for us. It was one of those things where Adam and I just kind of assumed we're going to be filming this thing, and some of the people organizing it were in touch with him, but not with me, and so I just kind of showed up. We filmed it. It was not that big of a deal. In the lead up to it, I was asked to do a leaflet and a poster for the concert, and this this was funny for me. The leaflet was fine. It was working with a couple people. I won't name their names right now because it's not important. got the leaflet done pretty quickly. But then working on the poster we were gonna publish everywhere for this concert to advertise for it. I couldn't seem to appease the directors of the project, the people that were wanting the images for it, and directing me to do it. And uh, there was just like back and forth every day. Like, oh, can you change this one box? Like, move it down a couple inches, or maybe try this one up here, and just certain things that are just normal if you have a project director and a producer designer working on some of these things. But it just got like worse and worse, where it was becoming more clear to me that there was very little I could do to accomplish the goal of this poster. And it seemed like it was asymptotically not happening. It was like more and more not happening. Yeah, like more and more specifics, but no type of like encouragement. Like, yeah, we're almost there, just a couple more things. It was like more like they didn't, like the people that were doing the project didn't really know what they wanted, and I didn't know what they wanted. I was just trying to do X and Y, and it wasn't working. And there was a certain point that just broke me. That just like broke me as a designer for a project like this. And it was because we had these like square boxes with quotes, so like a JFK picture, Mozart picture, some description of the Requiem. This is for the November Requiem, and I was using square boxes for the quotes and everything. And at a certain point, one of the people said, "Well, no, let's get rid of the square edges on the boxes, because there are no sharp edges in the Requiem." It was one of those things where like I don't like it was just I didn't know what to say. Like I don't know where to begin to like counter that argument. You know, you guys have been in this situation. You don't know where to begin. And it was like that was the final straw, the straw that broke the camel's back, where I quit. I can't do it. I can't. I've been working for weeks on this poster for these people, weeks. And that's somewhat usual for my position, you know, we're working on these things. But that was the final straw. Like, I can't meet your objectives. I'm sorry. And I told people around the office, and they were a little bit shocked, because I'm not. I generally will like persevere through a project. You know, I'll just make it okay, fine, whatever. You guys are crazy. I'll do whatever you want, whatever. And it's a little bit shocking to them. It's shocking to me, because I was trying to think of like the last time I'd quit anything. And I still like can't remember, like maybe in high school or something. I quit my job when I joined the movement and stuff, but that's different. But that was just where it was at. Was that it was like, okay, these people, maybe it's just like visual arts, you know, like they're not like the people that Schiller Institute are just not good at visual arts. They're good at other arts, you know, but visual art is a complex thing, and I'm not even saying I'm the best at it, but that comment was just so bizarre, and it was like at the end of a lot of bizarre things, and it was just like they didn't know what they were doing. So like, whatever, fine, I quit that. And Alan, you did it, and it was fine. It's kind of EIR style graphic, but whatever. It's kind of lame, but okay, whatever. It happened. We're filming. Adam and I film. We film fine. We bring our equipment, the same stuff here. We filmed it, and you know, we both know the Requiem decently. Afterwards, it took like 5 days to produce, and then John Segerson wanted to come and review it, and that was fine. He just had like, I don't even think he had any criticisms. He just wanted to check, and so we watched it, and we got it up, and Lynn was really happy with it. It was a really basic production, and that's fine. And the cool thing was, our organization works in a good way where everyone is ready to move on it, right? Because there's a discussion in NEC and all this, like Lynn saying this is really good, so let's move on it, let's get it out really quick. And we did. It was ready to go, and bam, it got out, and it actually, I think, had a good effect. It was sort of the precursor, was the anniversary of the death, and then some of the success of the event primarily, and then the video, like much more subsidiary role, was good at just inspiring the organization that, okay, we're gonna do it again. We're gonna do it for this other anniversary in January. And afterwards, I had sent emails to John, and others. I was excited. Like Adam was super excited. at the performance. I think most of you guys were in the performance, but like Adam filming was hilarious because he was like, yeah, it's like singing along. Cheerleader, yeah, right. All right. But we filmed it, it was just more instinctual filming. So I send these emails like, hey, this was great. I have some ideas about ways we can improve it. We'll bring our better tripods. That'll give us a little bit better movement. We'll try and get a better idea of the venue beforehand. We'll get maybe some better lighting, yada, yada, and just a bunch of ideas about improvements. And somewhere like this was just, so this end of November, we finished the production really quick. It was out. Organization moved on it. I send this email. And like soon after that, we started getting these like sort of tidings that, hey, we're not going to be doing the production. That these other people from the show industry are going to be like leading the production because it's going to be a much bigger deal. They weren't happy with what we did in November. I'm thinking, okay, that's fine. I haven't worked with other people, but okay. At that point, it didn't have any red flags to me. But then as I went on, it sort of developed more. Because we started getting on conference calls about the production of this new thing where like our work in November was being severely criticized. And Lynn was happy with it. He didn't have like marvelous comments about it, but it was, from my view, someone who was like the main editor of it, and we produced it really quickly. It's like, okay, we had a really good effect on that. But then like just these conference calls with all these people, like cameramen, and we're like, had this buddy who was a cameraman who we were going to hire. So conference calls, a lot of emails, and then just a lot of criticism of our work in November started coming into play about like, okay, lousy camera work, shoddy job, poor editing. And like the term shoddy came up like a lot, like 100 times. And so it was just giving me a bad feeling about the whole thing, that like it was getting out of my control. And I had this memory of like the poster I created before and having to quit it. And like and that's something I've dealt with in the last year, is like dealing with other project directors who often, it's not that they're incompetent, they often are incompetent, but they sorry to say, but they just don't know what they want, or maybe they know what they want like way too specifically, and I don't have much contribution to do. So these are like just like red flags just like slowly raising in my mind in this process. So that's yeah, I can't describe that much more than that right now, but enough to say that for my friends that I was talking to in the office around this time, I was really thinking about not participating in the filming of this January concert coming up, because it was just like more and more getting bad, like in my mind of, I don't know where these people are coming from. We're having these discussions about like camera basics, and I'm trying to describe to them that I do like 3 broadcasts a week for the past 6 years, and like I've done documentary films, and like like they're asking me to be the editor, but they like don't know anything that I've done, and okay, I don't blame them for that. I'm not some superstar, but it was just this weird thing where like they don't know what I'm doing. The only like discussion we have about my previous work is that it's like moronic and was terrible from November. And so this is like, you can imagine it weighs on someone. It weighs on someone because you're like, why are you even asking me to do this? I don't know why. Like, we should hire somebody, I think. I don't need to film this thing for you and edit it later. So anyway, so that was in the back of my mind, and as I said, my friends here knew that like, I was thinking about quitting kind of every week, like just saying I'm not going to do this. And I didn't end up making that decision. I ended up staying on as a cameraman and as the main editor for this project. So since I'm not remembering more of that, we're going to fast forward to the week itself and the trip itself. And the first, so we're on this bus. Who's on the bus? Is there any on the bus? Okay, yeah, 2 people. So it was this funny bus. So I was kind of excited because I hadn't, like, it was, for me, part of my mind was thinking, okay, I'm gonna have a lot of time to like read a book. That's gonna be exciting. I'm gonna have time to just like by myself, no other responsibilities for that few hours. I'll just read a book. And so I sat at the very back of the bus, right by Jason Ross, on the other side. And I'm like, okay, no one's gonna bug me. I'm just gonna read a book. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be all kinds of funny people in here, whatever. So we get to New York. We get to New York, and I had a thought that I think many people had the same thought was, okay, there's all these boomers on this bus, and they're about to get really nostalgic about New York City right now. So we're driving to New York City. Like probably most of them have been involved in New York City organizing, whatever. So Jason's sitting there across from me. Everyone else is in front of us, and turns around to Jason. And okay, I'm gonna like take these names out, so don't worry about these names. Okay, I'm taking them out. I didn't say this at the beginning. I'm taking out the names because this story is not about any individual person. It's about a cultural issue. Okay, so turns around to Jason and just says, like, lightheartedly says, "Oh, I bet all the boomers are getting really nostalgic right now about New York City." And Jason, like, very kindly, is like, "Oh, yeah," like just very kindly, like, "Yes, I acknowledge what you said. That's funny. That's humorous in a very simple way." And that was it. I thought that was it. Okay. Then we get to the next stop. It's like maybe an hour later, and this woman comes back to me, and I was just sitting like geographically close to Jason, right? I didn't even me Jason had that interaction, right? This lady, I don't know who this lady is, comes back to me, gets like in my face, and says, "You know, there was a lot more in New York City than just the boomers were there. Okay, it was a significant city." And I'm thinking, okay, okay. My first thought, this is gonna sound bad. My first thought was, I don't know who you are. Like I was like, I've never even seen you. I've never even seen your face. I don't even know if you're on this bus. Maybe you snuck on. That was kind of bad, but it was just I was thinking like, okay, I didn't feel it was like whatever because I wasn't even involved in hearing a comment made from someone else. I just happened to hear. I was just geographically close to the person who the comment was directed towards. So I'm like, okay, whatever. But that was like my first red flag that maybe this weekend isn't going to be all lollipops and sun dreams, so whatever. So that was the only thing significant from the trip. So we get there, we get to the hotel, and for whatever reason, and I understand these things, these logistical issues, I was somewhat chosen as a type of sacrificial lamb. Because I had to stay with the boomers in the hotel room. Everyone else was like youth and youth and youth. And I was with Doug DeGroot. And that was okay. And it's not bad in itself, but one of the things is
Why are we all laughing?
why are we all laughing? Yeah, why is everyone laughing at that? The Yeah, why are you laughing? Okay. And one of the highlights was it took me a while to think because Doug DeRuger's really cool. I'm not going to redact his name because I have nothing bad to say about this guy. He's really cool, and I was very glad to meet him throughout the trip. And it was a funny thing. It was like I was thinking, he reminds me of somebody. Who does he remind me of? And I couldn't place it. And then I kind of like figured it out that it's two people, and one of them is Ronald Reagan. And the other one is Clint Eastwood. If you combine them, you get Doug DeGroot. Yeah, if you know him, that's just like his voice. That it says nothing about him, but it was actually cool to get to know him a little bit. So he and I got along together. We get there and we're like trying to decide who's gonna sleep where, and I just volunteer. I'll sleep on the hide-a-bed, whatever. And it's also volunteers to sleep there. Dr. Goose can sleep on the bed, and on the bed. So we think. So I'm like, okay, whatever, fine. So I go down to the lobby because it's like kind of early. I'm still kind of up. go down and there'll be a few highlights of this trip, like really positive things, really good. And some of the positive things, I just ended up talking to different people in the organization I've never talked to before. Two of which are Richie Freeman and Mary Jane Freeman. That was really nice. They're really cool people. Mary Jane and I both work for Loudoun County, so we had some things to talk about. It's kind of funny. And one thing was, they honestly just didn't know about what we do in Percival. So I was just telling them like what an average day is for me or an average week is for our office. And at the end, they're like, geez, that is wonderful. You guys do so much stuff. We never knew that. Thank you so much for your work. It was really refreshing because they how would they know? How would they know any of that stuff? So they figured it out, and it was nice. We were just talking about all kinds of stuff, and it was like a real highlight. And some other people too. Some other people just coming in and not just sitting there reading in the lobby. Then it's time to go to bed, and I go up and. Was asleep on the floor, and Doug wasn't there because he's out doing, I don't know, in a bar fight or something. He's a great guy, legendary guy doing whatever. But on our bed with our one blanket, like completely surrounded himself with it. So, so of course I'm not gonna wake this guy up to share a blanket with him. Because that's just weird on a bunch of levels. Right? So I just grab a couple of the cushions and I stick them like between the window wall and the hide of bed, and I just lay them down. And I get like and I'm thinking like, it's really cold in this room. And I try looking for a heater. There's no heater I can find. And it just seemed like really, really cold. And so I couldn't get to sleep because it's so damn cold. And then I end up like putting all my clothes on top of me, and it's still not enough. And so I'm just like not getting sleep. So I go downstairs and I get 2 blankets from the bellhop, and I go upstairs and I'm able to sleep a little bit. We find out in the morning that the heater was just broke. And this is in January, the end of January in Boston. So it was like 40 degrees in our room. And like no one, like somehow these guys slept. Anyway, so I go to take a shower, and I was like, because I didn't get sleep, so I was like the last up, and they'd use all the towels, which is not their fault. It's just the hotel kind of sucked. It's like this super overpriced hotel. If you guys looked at the rates, it's like really bad. Anyway, it's not important, but I felt like it was like that scene in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. You guys remember that, where Steve Martin has to use like the little towel, because that was all they had. That was all they had left. And like you put it on your shoulder and it's completely sopping wet. And so I'm just like taking an hour to dry off. Whatever. That's fine. And then that morning I just ended up hanging out with Doug DeGroot, and we were just talking. We were just talking about farm life and all kinds of stuff. It was a great highlight, great guy. So I went down to the lobby and say, look, our heater's obviously broken. It's like 40 degrees up there. Fix it, and we use some more blankets, whatever. So that was that. Yeah, hung out with a couple people that morning, saw some people, yada yada. Then we get to the performance, the rehearsal, and there was like, for those of you not in the tech world, there's a lot of like crazy restrictions put upon us. It's different. Like we have to be there early and we have to stay there late just to set up and to take down. And we're often under pretty difficult circumstances, especially at an event like this where there's like a church service beforehand, whatever, we can only get in. Anyway, so it's like there's already a lot of stress just by the nature of it. And then it's like, like really being hard on like, okay, we have to be there like a half hour before this, and just like really kind of this about it. And so we get there, and so we're just setting up. We're setting up, and we know we're going to be in a really crunch time frame. We had hired associate, this cameraman Ramel, who has his production company, and he's nice cameras, but we hadn't used any of them. Like I hadn't. Could use some of them, but it's new to me. All the equipment was new, so we're having to learn it and set it up in like a really short time period. And we're having to like help just set everything up because it was everyone else was in the chorus, and so our tech team is really taxed. So we're just like moving, and it's like really fast, somewhat fast paced, and comes in to help out because he's there early to help out, and he like no joke, he comes up and like is just asking me, hey, where should I go? Where should we like? What's next to do? And he just mid sentence, where's the next thing we should do to set up? And like before he can even finish it, in our face yelling at us. What are you guys doing? There's no time to be just talking and just bullshitting. We got it. It's time for that later. Just go and do it now. And like I had the same sort of like West Coast reaction. They're like, whatever, man. Okay, fine. Fucking whatever. Whatever, man. Okay. We were like currently doing that. And now in like you just wasted our time to figure that out. And yeah, so then we get to filming. Filming is really funny. Filming has especially at an event like this where you're filming, you're kind of at a far distance away and you're filming a lot of people and you can be like really up close with filming people. And there's a certain voyeuristic quality about it. But this is one of the highlights of it, is that no one had heard these soloists before, right? This is the first time we'd heard these soloists. And in the tuba mirum, where we first hear the soloists, right? Or at least we hear them by themselves. There's this hilarious, wonderful moment, I thought, of when the tenor first comes in. My shot was the tenor, like imagine the tenor here, and then right behind him, sort of the tenor guys. I was set up over there. And so my shot was like him and then like Cody and a couple of the people. So I was just like this very close up view of this whole thing, right? And right when the tenor starts going, just Cody Jones. Like super satisfied, like yes. Yeah. But that's what I felt. And I think that's what most people, yep. That's right. You got it. Let's see. Nothing more. Well, okay. So actually, I should say this. So was the director. He's the director of the filming, and had like these detailed notes of the whole score, and he emailed them out, and like where each camera is going to be for each measure. And that's fine. Like I'd suggested something like that to the team before, like, because Adam and I were just going on instinct and just using hand signals. It was pretty primitive and like, let's up our game. So like, okay, that's fine. But it was part of the idea of incompetence where like these people had not really done this before. Cameraman was good at like planning things, but they never really done this type of thing. So like going to be calling out the notes for, okay, camera one, okay, get ready to do switch to here, and we all in headsets, right? But they didn't know, and part of it is like, okay, you don't blame someone for not knowing, but from my experience, it was like we had these like one ear headpieces, so the experience was like yelling, like a lot of yelling between two people, of like, because they're like they're missing all their cues. They're not used to it. Like they're like, okay, camera one, go to a medium shot of the sopranos, like all like these types of things. Okay, zoom out to tenors and altos, and like these like just and it was good that we had the rehearsal to practice that. That was actually very useful. But it's like yelling and then the Requiem, yelling and then. So it was funny. It was at that point it was just funny to me. Like, okay, these guys they're just figuring it out. You can't blame them. Whatever. So that was that. And I can't remember that night. That night we went out to Chinese food, I think. I don't know if any of you guys went. You were there, yeah. Oh yeah, because here's the other thing. Because of our tech time crunch, I didn't have any time to eat beforehand. So I'm like, Pavel, can you please go across the street? Because we had to like stay there. They're like kind of Nazi about the whole thing. Like you couldn't even leave because we had to like setting up and then you just had to be there. Like, Paula, just buy me a goddamn Snickers bar, please. And so I didn't even give you money. He comes back, of course, Pavel, right? He brings back 10 Snickers bars, a box of granola bars, and there's like 2-pound protein bar. Because we had to set up like at 1:30, and we're out of there like at 10 o'clock. If we can't leave, we're like barely allowed bathroom breaks. Because it was like, because they didn't know the equipment, and we had like this Ramel guy, he was really good. So other guy we hired from Boston. And it was like no one knew what to do, and I like made certain suggestions which were not received. They didn't listen to me, whatever. It happens. It was just kind of chaotic. So anyway, so that's kind of that. It was nice to go to this Chinese food and hang out with people. That was kind of fun. Then I go back to our hotel. And okay, this is like I hope I can describe this as well as I could, because we stayed up kind of late eating food and all that stuff. So I go in there and is asleep with 2 of my blankets on him. I was like, okay, just whatever, just fine, just okay. It's cold. They hadn't fixed their heats. They brought in these heaters, so they sort of moved everything around. And where I had slept between the hide-a-bed and the window was not accessible because they moved the heater, so it wasn't there. And moved it for me to do. Not that I expect them to, but it wasn't the case. I couldn't sleep there, so I had to sleep like in the direct middle of the room where everyone kind of had to walk through, because I wasn't about to wake to like get one of my blankets back. But it was warmer. So I'm like sleeping on these couch cushions, in my clothes with one blanket, like next to a heater, because that's where it was, and it was fine. I was like gonna sleep fine, but then at like 3 a.m. and I'm not. People think I make this part up. I'm not making this part up. I just start to hear this noise, and it's a noise that just is continuous, and it's something falling on the floor, but it's not stopping. It's not like someone dropped something. It's someone dropped like a package of something that's continuing to fall. And I'm like, it's 3 a.m. I didn't get sleep before. Crazy experience that day. It's 3 a.m. Heater by my face. And I'm thinking, okay, that sounds... At first I was, it's M&M's. This huge package of M&M's. But then like I realized that like M&M's have a certain sound, like a sharp sound. Like, no, it's more rounded. Like, it must be Skittles. It sounds like Skittles. But like the sound kept going. And I was like trying to imagine what the hell is this thing, and I was imagining like a giant FedEx tube that someone is like slowly pouring. Because I'm not kidding, it went on for minutes. It just kept going on this sound, and it was like thousands of Skittles falling on the floor, and it was like not that far from my head, and it just kept and I'm like, I don't know what it is, why it's happening. It's pitch black. I can't see any damn thing in there. And so it goes on for a long time, a really long time, and no one else is awake but whoever is dropping this giant thing of Skittles, which I can only imagine. Then it stops, and then like 15 seconds pass, and keep in mind I'm awake, 3 a.m., thinking about this. And then I hear his voice, and he says, "Oh no." And I think, what the hell is wrong with you? That's worse. That was like the time delay. It was mind. It wasn't just that like that happened. It was like that was the delay. That was the mental delay. I was like, what the hell? And I wanted to get up. Like you're kind of looking around with you're trying to listen with your eyes. What the hell is this thing? It just total silence. 15 seconds. Oh no! Like you just realized something was going on. And I'm thinking, is this guy gonna kill me? Is he a Skittles serial killer? Is he just gonna kill all of us? And I'm gonna be a headline the next day? Like, what the hell is wrong with these people? Anyway, it's hard to describe how bizarre that was. I forgot to mention, the previous morning when I went to the maitre d', I said, hey, look, obviously our heater's messed up, etc. Can you please give us more towels? Because you only give us 3. We obviously have 4 people staying here. So the next morning, the same morning after the Skittle serial killer incident, I'm the last person up because was woken up by this crazy thing at 3 a.m. And they all had used 2 towels. I'm not kidding. They all, like, everywhere they were sleeping, they laid them out like 1, 2, 1, 2. So again, a little square. Anyway, so then that morning was kind of fun. I got to hang out with. That was fun. I haven't seen her in years. We got to talk about some stuff like, which it was actually funny in the context of the whole weekend, because we got to talk about like how crazy people get you to do stupid things, and got to resolve some things just like that we had been, some of you guys have been, or like people watching this have been in poor situations in the organization where they're sort of brought to do things they wouldn't normally do under pressure of whatever. And she and I, it was just nice because we were brought to do certain things. Like we were sort of pitted against each other from a process in Seattle. We got to resolve some of this. It was very nice to just talk about it and resolve some of that stuff. So we get to the event, and we're setting up again. Same thing. I know the equipment a little bit better than the day before. Was late because of miscommunication, so there's like all kinds of extra pressure because like, where is he? We don't know where he is. Where is he? Yeah. I'm setting up the camera, with a director, right? And he is helping me to set up one of the cameras, and I asked him to like check it as I go check our one of these cameras for the shot of John Segerson. And so he was there, and one of the settings was fucked up, and the camera ended up like tilting down if you don't lock it, right? It's a common thing. And someone asked him, what's up with this camera? Because it had fallen forward. And there is a risk that they can tip over depending on the weight load, weight balance and all that. So he like turns to me and starts yelling at me about this thing. And at that point, I didn't, you're just being yelled at. You don't like think about if it's your fault actually or not. I'm just sort of like, okay, I'm being yelled at. It ended up, like, the more I thought about it, it was more probably his fault. I could be wrong. But, and this might sound bad, but I'm just like being yelled at by this guy who I really have almost no relationship with. Just like you're put in this situation with different people in the organization just being yelled at. And this is going to sound bad. My first thought was that in 2008, when we were doing the 1932 video, and we had to transfer files to Europe because Lynn was in Europe and he really wanted to see these videos. And so at that point, we didn't know much about the transfers. We had to use our public FTP. So we had to sort of hide it, and we had to put it in some sort of file that we thought no one would look at. And so we named the file we thought, who would look up this? It's like the most boring stuff, which sounds bad. Well, my first thought was like, this guy, like this person who I have worked with almost 0%, is just yelling at me, and like the guy from the file. That's my first thought. Like, this guy just feels he can yell at another human being because just whatever. And that was honestly like same thing, sort of the West Coast, like, all right, whatever. You're yelling at, you feel better now? Doesn't change anything about what happened. Turns out it was your fault. Anyway, but at least it's better than the lady yelling at me at the bus. Like, okay, at least I'm somewhat involved in this. Somewhat involved. Somewhat involved. What next? So we're filming, and now it's it's really game time. Excuse me. It's game time because it's no longer a rehearsal. It's full-time filming of the event. Now, because of the nature of the people in the director's booth giving us orders, and we're out there. Now there's 600 people behind us, and we're standing on these podiums. So it's a different environment, much different environment. Only we can hear what these people are saying. And they're just as frustrated and confused about how to do their job, and that affects our job. I was the worst cameraman there, but at least I know what I'm doing. I know how to focus. I know these basic things. But they're still frustrated. And one of the things was that they had a really staunch thing about not moving the shot until we tell you. Okay, and that's fine. That seems legitimate. But they would get so worked up about making sure they're getting all the cues that they set out for themselves that they forget about us. They forget about a certain camera. And I already knew that I was going to be the editor for this thing. So I'm sitting there with a shot, like let's say The Sopranos. And this happened a few times. And they're like, let's say I'm filming The Sopranos. And then they sit down and they haven't given me my cue yet. And I'm sitting there like filming Sopranos seated down. And it's, I'm thinking, okay, I have to edit this thing later. This is not very much use to me. I'm reducing my chances. So I start like, hey guys, hey, I'm look at my shot. I'm like trying to tell them, and like there's people behind me. I don't want to be too loud, and they don't respond because they're freaked out. And then like I couldn't get through them, so I just like start to move, and they just see the movement without their cue, and they like would yell at me for that. Don't move, camera one. Don't move your camera till we tell you. Like they're yelling. Again, it's yelling and Requiem. Yelling and Requiem.
Can other people hear that?
No, just us. Well, just Ramel, the camera guy, who was and I think there's only people on the shot. And Ramel, that was another highlight. Ramel would just look to me. He knew, man. And I will say, it was inspiring to watch Ramel work because he was a skilled cameraman, and the camera was like an extension of himself. So to see him like do a zoom or like a complex move, I just kind of look at him a couple times, and he was like, I kind of did like the Cody reaction. Yes. That was another highlight. So they yelled at us. They yelled at us quite a bit, and it was lame because I was just thinking I have to edit this later, and I'm looking at like a couple minutes of a worthless shot. Whatever. So yeah, then let's see. That was the main things from that performance. Oh yeah, so okay, now I'm remembering. So then the performance goes well. It's a very good performance, I think. Some great speeches. You guys all saw it if you weren't there. It was really good. It was a really good event. Then it comes time for takedown, and it's similarly like this crazy rush because the buses are coming. We hadn't eaten or had bathroom breaks, but we got to just take everything down, whatever. It comes with the territory. And I'm tasked to go up with to take up like the camera 5, which is the loft camera, the really nice camera shot of the overhead. And he's like in a rage fit. He's just like really pissed off because he has to drive back that night with Ramel, whatever. But he's just kind of in a rage fit, and I'm just like trying to make sure he doesn't do something kind of rash. And he's about to take these memory cards out of the camera because it's an external memory card. And he's about to like, hey, didn't you turn that off first? And he's like, no, it's fine. I know this. I know what I'm doing. And he rips them out before it turns off. And like he hears a noise and says, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. So that was really lame because that ended up being like a almost 2-week delay in our production because they were almost lost. We barely salvaged them, and we salvaged them at a lower quality than we would have had. These are like really nice camera shots. It was just a stationary shot. But it was just kind of typical of the type of team we had assembled for this type of production and the type of emotional attitude given to the work. And that was lame because it was just another one of the things that were suggestions I had given that were not listened to, and to a very poor effect, very detrimental effect. Then we were packed up enough, and there was a reception, whatever. So we go down. I was excited because it was like the first time for me I was good to see a lot of people, a lot of my friends from the different parts of the organization. And I heard there was going to be some food there. I was excited about food. I was like, 2 nights of terrible sleep, whatever. And it's just funny. I don't blame my friends for this, but I got to see my friends, people I hadn't seen for a long time, and all they could say, pretty much 90% of the response I got when I saw some of my friends was, "Hey, Spen, your hair's long." Yes, my hair is long. Yes, hi, how are you? Good performance. Yes, my hair is indeed long. Yes. But I did get a joke in because someone said, "When are you going to cut your hair?" 'Cause my hair was long. For those of you who don't remember, my hair was very long at that point. "When are you going to cut your hair?" And I said, "Well, I'll cut my hair when we impeach Dick Cheney." Because I'm always excited to get a joke. Anyway, so the yelling, and I think I sort of missed some of the yelling, but the yelling throughout the whole performance at the end of it, and some of the stuff from was to the point where I was thinking, like, I don't like the fact that someone like you, it's not like you're a bad person or something, but like I just have no relationship to you. The thing, like the lady on the bus who yelled at me, I did find out who she was, but I was thinking at the time, like 100% of our interactions as human beings has been you yelling at me. And that figure remains to this day. That figure remains, and like it just kind of kept getting worse. Yell at me a couple times about different things, and then and like thinking about this file, and I was thinking like I would just not be surprised to be yelled at like by like anyone, just bizarre people in our organization I've never met yelling at me will not be surprised to me anymore. It just won't be surprised to me. So after the reception, all the food left was just donuts. I'm just like cramming in donuts in my mouth because I'm so hungry. Then I'm like getting ready to get, because I heard the bus is coming, and it's just me with like a bunch of this stuff. And I heard that it was like, okay, it's been here for a little bit. And so I knew I was kind of late. I hadn't heard as early as others. So I'm like running with all of my camera equipment to the bus, and it's icy out, whatever, running, tired, get in there, cram everything in, get in my seat in the very back of the bus again. And then I realized I had a voicemail on my phone, and yelling at me. For being late on the bus. And at that point, I was like, I don't know. This is like a weird analogy, but I kind of felt like if I were someone on the beach at Kitty Hawk and I just happened to see the Wright brothers flying the plane for the first time, and I had like no basis with which to understand a phenomena like that, it like trying to comprehend something that like I just yelled at. Like the people, like, okay, Dave Letterman style top 5 list of people that Lynn has denounced in NECs. Okay, Dick Cheney or Obama, maybe 1 and 2, right? Felix Rohatyn is like a close number 4 behind the person who just yelled at me. And I don't even know, like Soros or what's that guy's name? Mulholland. Remember the like 2 days of Mulholland, the Democratic Party guy? Yeah. I was like, I don't even know. So I felt like that guy at Kitty Hawk. Like, and then I felt like the guy at Kitty Hawk, like whose friend was asking about what happened that day and like trying to describe it to the friend. Trying to describe this thing you've never seen before and have no ability to communicate to. Like, it's just a boat flying backwards in the sky without paddles. I just had no basis. So that I might be forgetting some things, but that was kind of it. And then the ride home, talking to all night about whatever, like super loud, and like everyone's asleep. Some of you remember this. So anyway, that was just the filming. I'm not going to go through the editing because that was just enough to destroy somebody. It's mostly just when incompetent people it's often the case with our organization where we're just trying to scramble to do something. We're trying to scramble to do something, and we don't quite have the skill set to do it. In this case, I think it was more bad planning, and some advice was not heeded, which would have been good had it been heeded. One thing I'll say about the Requiem, just for the public, is more like almost like a public service announcement about it, because the November one we shot with like very minimal stuff. It came out pretty well. Lynn liked it. It wasn't phenomenal, but it was good, and it communicated a certain degree, as much as video can, of the performance. The main thing was the performance for those people there, and then the effect was radiated through our communication of it in video and audio and other ways as a political effect. And it was produced quickly, and as such was able to be distributed very quickly. This one, the one in January, was like much more logistical load. We spent like a lot on it, which is debatable, admittedly debatable if that was useful. And for a lot of reasons, the production was much heavier and much more delayed. It got out, like the first draft of the November one got out like 5 or 6 days after the event. Just bam, just quick. About as quick turnaround as you can really expect. It had to be reviewed, etc. This one got out, the January one, about 5 or 6 weeks afterwards. Part of that was this 2-week delay because of the memory card thing. Part of it was like 100 emails of like reviews of drafts I was sending about, oh, well, can you move this cut a few frames earlier and extend it a few, I'm not kidding, like in frames, like 3 frames and 4 frames, like that specific. And, us designers, we have to be engineers to build things to suit in a lot of occasions, so I'm sort of used to some of that stuff, but my point is more about the effect of it, because that one was really not distributed much at all. And you can look at the YouTube counts just as a base quantitative metric of it. The last I looked, I haven't looked in several weeks, but the November one is like, I don't know, 1,500 or maybe 2,000, which is a lot for a musical performance that we do on the Schiller Institute. It's a lot. And the January one was less than 1,000, less than our weekly LaRouche Pack in Action, like less than anything recent. Anything in the last month we've done has got way more than that. And that's just quantitative. That's not including DVDs distributed. But that is a certain metric for just how effective it's going to be. And a lot of the point was that the main thing is going to be the event. Okay, that's true. The event, people there, that's the effect. You want to have it radiate in a certain degree. But it was, months of my life working on this thing, having emails. And all throughout, even the editing process, still email after email and phone call after phone call about how inept the camera work was on our November performance and how terrible it was. And at a certain point, okay, you're dealing with an ignorant person or ignorant people and you can shrug it off, but like at a certain point, just like I said before, like, why do you even want me doing this? I was one of 2 cameramen of that event. I edited it. So it was a very trying process, editing this January concert. At a certain point, I started making pedagogicals about like basics of filming and editing. Like, no joke, making pedagogicals to explain to these people what are some of the principles I'm talking about. Because if you don't trust me, or if you don't understand that I'm competent to do this, I'm going to have to teach you the basics. I'll just teach you the basics. And that kind of worked at just shutting them up for a little bit. But it was very, very trying. Very trying. And, yeah. So then, almost done here. You guys are a good audience, very patient. And because of all this craziness that happened, we showed it for Lynn in this room, and Lynn said it was brilliant. Lynn said the editing was brilliant. And something like that that was because of all this stuff. I've never had something like that said by Lynn be so disappointing to hear from me. And partially because there's a thing people do in Hollywood where they sign a fake name if they don't feel that they've made a contribution. And I wish I'd known about that at the time. I found out later about that, and it's still debatable. I would have, I don't know, maybe 75% would have signed a fake name. I did my job as far as doing all the tasks, but and I don't want to make this just about me, but at least in terms of like the credits, I don't feel like I really contributed much. Anyone else could have followed the orders given, and I don't think I don't even think it's really even that creative of a process necessarily. It's pretty simple. The rules are pretty well established in editing a project like that. But and so I don't mean to say it as far as my role in the editing, but more as like my experience as a whole. I don't even want to like associate my name with the production. That's how bad all the emails, the conference calls, being yelled at by strangers, like it was like such an oppressive thing. And I didn't, my name was there, whatever, it's fine. I'm happy with it as far as it goes. I'm glad we had the event. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad it was able to be distributed even as late as it was. But it more made me think about, and I don't know how well I communicate it here, but talking with people, it's more a cultural thing. It's more a cultural process in our organization that the reason I'm going to take out the names of individuals and they'll know who they are because they were there is really not about those people. Any one of those individual things could have been excused by an individual. That's not my point. I actually like almost all the individuals I brought up in this thing. That they're decent people as far as they go and as far as I know them. But it's not as though just if we were just to like change the actions of those individuals, it would make the process better necessarily. It's more, I'm trying to describe a cultural process, a cultural lacking, and a cultural deficiency that is just one little cross section of our organization that we deal with. And I think I know that all kinds of people in our organization deal with these types of things in all kinds of circumstances all the time, and they'll see like they'll be affected by something that's a cultural thing, it's a cultural problem. And Lynn talks about it a lot. As you guys know, as a generational collapse. And I don't mean to, I hope this is not sounding like a pity party or something, like I had this terrible weekend. There was very good moments, and there's all kinds of good moments about it, and whatever, we have to do work. But one of the things that I really hate about, I think our organization doesn't work when we use this line of, well, it's warfare. We're in the middle of a war, and we have to just like tolerate these things. I think that's a terrible. I think that's a phrase that like countless sins have been committed under that line, and I don't have a proposal about what to do about it, but I do want to raise it as an issue that it's very easy to say, oh, well, it's warfare. We have to deal with psychos who are going to yell at you, or just anything like that. I know we're sort of used to this like scrambling to get something accomplished, but I do think that comes up, and I think it comes up even more than a lot of people recognize. People in the field, people all over our organization that have to deal with that, and yeah, that's yeah. I think we're better than that. I think fundamentally people join this organization for reasons of humanitarianism, and they want to join something much better than the culture we're a part of. I think we often, and Lynn talks about this, we like succumb to the culture we're trying to fight against, and you have these types of frictions and difficulties and situations that really, ideally rather, no one should have to deal with. We are still part of the culture, so we have to deal with some of these things. But yeah, I would like to raise it, and I think I just say I think we deserve a lot better than that. I think we deserve it for ourselves, and we deserve it as we're thinking about this movement going forward for a long time to come, because it's more than just the current political fights. It's the long-term culture we're going to create. I know I brought up a lot of names in this case, and if some of those individuals end up watching it, they'll know it's like not about them. And it's, I would just say for myself, this happened in January, the end of January, and the editing took place for 6 weeks afterwards. It was bad for me, and I'm bringing up names, but so I've thought about it for a long time, and for a while, and I was in like sort of more upset moods. I would think, for a while I thought I'm just never going to do anything with the Schiller Institute again. It's just they're so incompetent. They don't know what the hell they're doing. I'd rather we pay someone else to deal with the incompetence, and I can do things that are useful, more useful of my time than 6 weeks making this video that anyone else could make, any other person can make, based on the directions given. So, in those moments, I was thinking, okay, this is like I'm going to quit. I'm not going to do this anymore. And that's a really that type of hypothesis doesn't lead you anywhere. And that it took me a while to realize that, to think, okay, just quit, because I quit the poster thing, but I had to realize that I wanted to do this thing, however less than funny I thought it would be. It is, because I would like to stay a part of this organization, and not just like throw my hands up and say fuck it, because that's not a hypothesis that gives you anything. It's just how would the other people respond if I did something like that? Oh, he quit. He doesn't want to work with us. He's this or that. Let's try yelling at him more. That's not. So I'm doing this because I would like to stay a part of the organization. I think we're better than it, than this type of process. And I think we owe it to ourselves and to history to think about these things and to try and raise them. Part of why I did it was because I think there should be an open discussion of some of this stuff. And I'm not presenting much of anything except a negative proof of things that don't work. But I would like to raise it, and would like to raise it publicly, and in a way that I hope will help people. So yeah, I'll end with that. And thank you for coming. Thank you for watching, if you're watching this. And yeah, so thank you.
I've got a few tips on how you can edit this.
Okay.